Hey, what's up everybody, and good morning. It's pretty early here, waking up, trying to get this done before I have to actually go to my other job. I did one yesterday on a profile screen, and that's what we're working on today, but it was just not happy with it. It was garbage. We're not going to use that. I found this one. I like it much better, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate quite a bit on this screen. Not everything, especially not the text for the most part, but a lot of the design elements outside of the text I'm going to show you. Before we do that, I'm going to jump over to Google and give some attribution to the person that created this. Here it is. I found it on Pinterest, and this is the guy who created it up here in the left-hand corner. So if you're looking for a designer, check him out. Let's go ahead and jump back over into Sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and work my way down the page and start creating things. Over here on the right-hand side, I grabbed an image to use. I've got some icons here, and if you read those, you can see who the attribution goes to. I'll have all of this included in the resources section, so you should definitely download this and try to create this screen yourself. I'll also have the sketch file there, so you guys can check it and reference to see if there's anything you got stuck on that you want to check out. You can kind of pick it apart. Alright, so first things first, let's get this photograph over here. I'm going to click my photograph, and I like to just grab out a copy. And actually, before I do that, or I've already got it, let's go ahead and create a square here, or rectangle, so we can just mask it, make it a little bit easier. I'm going to hit R for rectangle and draw one out, same size. Like that. Let's bring it over into our profile. Let's drag our photograph right on top, get it nice and centered on there. We can resize it in a second. I'm going to say mask. Oh, not mask. Hold on. It would help if I grab my rectangle here. Let's take this bitmap and let's rename it. Let's call it dock background. And our rectangle is right above it. So I'm going to drag the dock in the layers panel above the rectangle. I'm going to hold down Shift and select both of those and choose mask. Alright, now I'm going to expand my little mask here. Select just the dock this time, and let's kind of resize. And that looks really good. Okay, so I'm going to keep it like that. And now it looks like they have kind of an overlay here, probably a bluish type overlay. So I'm going to draw out another rectangle. Let's do it right over the top of this. Something like that. And I'm going to take a stab here. Let's get the eyedropper. I'm going to choose this blue right here. Got that. And now I'm going to drop the opacity down. Let's get rid of this guy. Drop the opacity. So I'll have kind of a bluish. Alright, I'm happy with that. And now let's drag this stuff below the rest of our content here. So let's get this, and where did our little rectangle go? Let's rename this overlay. I'm going to partner these guys. So I'm going to hold down Command, select both, Command G, and I'm going to drag this below pretty much everything except for that rectangle right there. Let's call this main background. We're going to resize that a bit. Drag it down. So there's a square behind here, a rectangle behind here. I'm just going to drag it to about right there. And what I want to do is apply a gradient. So this is going to act as this bottom portion of my profile screen. It's got a bit of a gradient, so let's go ahead and apply that. So I'll click the fill. Let's click the gradient. We want the direction to go up and down. So with this top point selected, I'm going to get my eyedropper. I'm going to select that color one more time. Same with the bottom. Get the eyedropper and watch the magic. Okay, so there's my gradient. I like that. Now let's get this little profile picture created. I'm going to zoom in right next to it and kind of pick it apart. So I've got an oval here that I'm going to recreate. It looks like another oval underneath. That's got some transparency, maybe a drop shadow right here, and then I need to create an oval border and split it in half and just keep the border portion. So let's get to work on that. So I'm going to hit O for my oval, and I'm going to start on the bottom one first. So hold down Alt Shift, draw that out to about there. I'm going to drop that down. That looks like a good size. I'm going to bring that right alongside here. I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate this. Come over here to my colors. I'm going to change that. And I'm going to do it one more time. Command D. So I've got 3 ovals now. This one, let's make it kind of a blue. Maybe a brighter blue. All right, so with this selected, and let's get rid of this guy. I'm going to hold down Alt-Shift, drag this in to get kind of the same thickness as this here. Okay, so I've got that selected. Now I want to select both of them and do a Boolean operation. So I'm going to hold down Shift. I've got these 2 ovals selected, and let's say subtract. All right, next I want to create that slice. So let's draw out a rectangle. And I'm going to keep it within the bounds of this oval pretty much. I don't want to go too far if I don't have to. I've got that. Now let's select both and let's subtract again. And there we go. We got our little cutout here. Let's change the color of that. So click my fill. Let me get my eyedropper. It doesn't look like there's a gradient applied to this. So that's good. And in terms of colors, let's get that bottom oval selected. And I'm just going to go with the blue again. I think maybe the darker blue. And let's drop the transparency way down on that. Probably not a blue. Let's go with more of a gray here. Maybe something like that. And let's drop the transparency. Maybe like a blue-gray. Spending too much time on this. There we go. Blue-gray looks like the way to go. And we can bring the transparency up just a tiny bit. All right, now let's get our inner oval. I'm going to hit O for oval again. Hold down Alt-Shift. Draw that out. Something like that there. Get it in the center. And now with that selected, let's come up here to Data. Let's make it easy on ourselves. Choose Faces. Come over here to the Inspector, and instead of Tile, let's choose Fit. There we go. All right, so this guy. And let's get everything selected. So with all of those items selected, I'm going to hit Command G to group it. And let's call this Profile Pick. I'm going to throw a Smart Guide here just so I know where it's going. Move this down just a little bit. Sometimes when you place the Smart Guides, if there's another design element in the way, it's going to snap to it and you won't be able to get it where you want it necessarily. So drag it into my artboard and it's below everything, so let's just drag it to the top. Alright, I'm going to hold down the space bar. That'll give me this little hand and allow me to move things around, if you didn't know that. Let's get this centered right there. Okay, so zoom out. Let's see what we got here. Let's get rid of this Smart Guide. Alright, that looks pretty good. We'll quickly do the text. And let's say Bob Jones. Let's take this back to maybe a medium. Bump it up just a little bit. Don't want to spend too much time on this. But I do like, if I'm going to spend the time on it, let's get it somewhat right. Alright, with that selected, let's also select this background and center it. There we go. Alright, now let's get these little boxes here. This should be relatively easy. I'm going to zoom in a bit, reposition, hit R for rectangle, and I'm going to draw one out. Let's just go right over the top of it. Something like that. Bring it over just a tiny bit. Zoom in just a bit more and reposition. Alright, so now with that selected, let's go ahead and put a radius. What do we want to do? Let's do a radius. And I think a radius of 5 is probably going to cut it. So with that selected, I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate, put that on top, and you'll see you do kind of the same process for a lot of this stuff. I'm going to hold down Alt-Shift, drag this in just a bit. And with rectangles and squares, it's a little bit more difficult to get that so you have to kind of fine tune it. And let's go ahead and move that over. Let's do this manually. You want to get this really, really thin. Maybe something like that. I think the tops and bottoms have a better gap. I think a 1 pixel gap is going to be good. So with this inner rectangle selected, I'm just going to use my arrow keys to move it over until I have a 1 pixel gap over here. There we go. And now let's increase the width. Right now we've got a 5 pixel gap. Let's increase that by 4. So let's say +4. Enter. Let's hold down Shift and select that bottom rectangle as well. So we have both selected. Use our Boolean operation, say subtract. And let's drop the opacity. I think what we really want is kind of a bluish color before we change that. So let's get our eyedropper. I'm just going to choose maybe that blue. Move it over here to something a little bit lighter. I think in the middle, kind of like we had with our profile picture. Something like that. And we can bring the opacity up just a bit. That's good. I'm happy with that. We'll zoom out, see what we got here. And other than being off center just a tiny bit, I like the way it turned out. Let's go ahead and move things over. We're going to place a smart guide so we know where it goes in our artboard over here. Oops. Let's grab this guy. There we go. Bring it over here, and it'll snap there. I'm going to move this over a bit. I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate, and then let's... things are moving. I don't want them to move. Hold down Shift and let's get that moved over. Now in terms of spacing, we can see how much spacing they have. I want to know what kind of a gap they have here, so let's just draw out a rectangle from the edge to our rectangle there, and it looks like 24 pixels of space. I'm going to get rid of that. So if I select my rectangle over here, I'm going to hold down Alt, and it looks like I have 25. Not bad. Let's go to the other side. Let's select this guy. I'm going to hold down Alt and just hover over here near the edge. And let's get 24 pixels of space as well. Alright, good stuff. Let's get repositioned. This one's just a rectangle, and it looks like it's got some transparency to it. And then we've got our icons here. Relatively straightforward. We'll duplicate that, and we'll create this one here, and maybe cut it off on the right hand side and add these little profile pictures, and then we will be done. Pretty easy stuff here. Let's go ahead and draw this out. Now if you're ever trying to duplicate something like this and the item is underneath and you're not sure, just if you've gone a little bit too far, you can always drop the opacity down so you can see behind it. Kind of zoom way in. It looks like I'm sticking up just a tiny bit. I can bring that down 1 pixel. Also helps for rounded corners if you want to match it up even more so. It looks like I'm sticking over maybe 1 pixel here. Let's drag that over just a little bit. Let's drop the opacity down just a little bit more. And now let's start applying a radius. And as I do, you'll see the corner here start to peel back. And I think right about at 5 is probably going to be good. Let's zoom out. Bring this guy over here, just right on top. And it seems like, I think maybe I want more. Yeah, I think more of a radius now that I'm looking at it. I'm gonna go with a radius. Let's go with 7. 7's good. Okay, let's get some of our icons in here. I'm gonna move over. I'm gonna grab those really quickly and just put them right under here.